Good evening and welcome to the March 12th regular board meeting of the Evergreen Public Schools Board of Directors. Please rise with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Board Student Representative Covenant Chukwocha has our land acknowledgement today.
Hello. The Evergreen Public School resides on the traditional land of the Chinooks peoples and the Cowless tribe. They have lived on and cared for this land since its waterways since time immemorial. We thank them for the stewardship and make this acknowledgement to open a space of recognition, inclusion, and respect for all Indigenous students, families, and staffs in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Covenant. The next item is to adopt the agenda for tonight.
I move to adopt tonight's agenda as presented.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We'll proceed with the agenda as adopted. The next item on our agenda is a music performance by the Harmony Elementary School Choir. Corinne is here. Welcome.
Good evening, School Board and Superintendent Boyd. I'm here this evening because March is Music in Our Schools Month. And while we have music in our schools every single day, we wanted to make sure that you had some music during March as well. Before I introduce our group tonight, I do want to say thank you on behalf of our music teachers, music students, and all the people in our district that music touches. Thank you to our school board, our superintendent, and the community for their unwavering support of music education. Evergreen has one of the very best music programs in the state, and that is because of your support. Now, with two songs for you tonight, I'd like to introduce the Harmony Choir. They're still getting set up. Their director, Bryn Scamahorn, and Emmy, who's going to introduce their first song.
O'er the Waters of the Deep is a haunting melody about sailors who call to the sea. Upon your first singing of this song, we felt it was too short. So we, as choir, wrote two more verses. We feel that these verses complete the song and create a full story. Please enjoy O'er the Waters of the Deep.
The sea, she beckoned.
Hello, I am Hallie, a fifth grade student at Harmony. One voice, no matter how tiny, matters. One person, no matter how seemingly insignificant, is important. We are the leaders of tomorrow. We are the builders of the future. Give Us Hope is an anthem for the future. It is a message to all people to believe in us and empower us. Give us the courage to grow into the adults we will become.
Listen to the sound of my voice. Can you feel the beat of my heart? Listen to the questions I have. Listen to me. It's all very simple to see what we need. Give us hope. My voice is calling. Can you see? Look in my eyes. Can you feel? My hand is reaching. Give us hope and we'll show you the way. Listen to the sound of my voice. Can you feel the beat of my heart pounding? Listen to the questions I have. Listen to me. We are the future. Help us believe. Give us hope. My voice is calling. Can you see? Look in my eyes. Can you feel? My hand is reaching. Give us hope and we'll show you the way. Take my hand and look in my eyes. Tell me what you see. Give us hope. My voice is calling. Can you see? Look in my eyes. Can you feel? My hand is reaching. Give us hope and we'll show you the way. Give us hope. My voice is calling. Can you see? Look in my eyes. Can you feel? My hand is reaching. Give us hope and we'll show you the way. Show you the way. My voice is calling. Show you the way. My voice is calling. Show you the way.
That's all we've got for you. Does anyone have any questions?
What grade?
Fourth and fifth graders.
Is it fourth and fifth? That's what we were wondering. I just want to say really quickly, thank you guys so much for coming in and singing for us. This is such a pleasure. We love to have you guys, all of our schools come and perform, but I think this is the first time we've had an elementary group come. So thank you guys so very much for taking time out of your evening and coming and spending it with us. You guys did amazing.
Thank you. We enjoyed it. Come back anytime.
Did you guys say that you wrote the lyrics to this first song?
They wrote the last two verses to this.
Wow, that was very well done, guys. Good job.
So I love to sing, and I heard so much of music making in what you did. I don't know if they've taught you these terms before, but the dynamics and the parts and the unity, it was beautiful. It was beautiful. It really helped me feel better than I did before you began to sing, and that's what it's all about to me. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, and one voice matters, and all your voices together were beautiful, so thank you.
Nice job.
You can go.
Thank you, family members, for sharing your children.
That was wonderful. The next item on our agenda is the superintendent report. John?
Thank you, Director Perkins. And I just want to thank everybody for coming out and sharing your viewpoint, and most importantly, sharing and advocating for our students. We might not agree on every budget decision, but we do agree that our ultimate goal, which is to create a budget that supports students and gives them the best chance to feel belonging and achieve success. Tonight, you won't be seeing any changes to our initial budget recommendations, and that's by design. The board and I wanted to make sure that we had one more opportunity for folks at this meeting to share their perspectives before we make any adjustments to the budget. And you can expect that the final list will be part of the reduced educational program resolution shared next week, and it will be voted on during the March 26th board meeting. What you have to say tonight is important. The board and I have the job of listening to you tonight, just like we've listened to the feedback from our students, staff, principals, and other community members. The surveys, the community meetings, the outreach with the advisory groups have all been important for us to listen to while continuing to focus on our goals of our strategic plan and the necessity of balancing our budget. One thing that's come up, one of the themes that's come up is the superintendent's salary. This is not the first setting I'm announcing this, but I'll be taking a voluntary $25,000 salary reduction next year to support. You're welcome. And I also want to speak to district office reduction. That's also been a theme. We set out to reduce the district budget, the district office by 7 to 8%, and in schools by 4 to 5%. As we started working with our principals and getting feedback from our community, we doubled that now to we're at 15% reduction at the district office. That means 30 positions, $3.5 million. So while that is a significant change, it's also going to require us to rethink and restructure our organization. So we're going to commit to those 30 positions, the $3.5 million, and we're still going to utilize our resources we currently have to restructure and reorganize so that we can continue to move forward and support our schools in the way that we need to. Future budgets and financing. That's been on everybody's mind. There have been lots of questions about that. If our current projections hold, we're going to be better off in the years to come. This is the third consecutive year where we've made $20 million budget reductions, and next year looks a lot more promising. While we'll continue to experience enrollment loss, we feel like next year, if we do what we need to do this year and achieve and realize the $20 million worth of budget reductions, we will not be in the same position next year. Now, if the economy falls or if we have a precipitous enrollment decline, that might not be true, but we're optimistic about next year. I want to also share we're going to put up the legislative impact. That's been one of the questions that's been coming up in the community meetings and conversations we've been having. And so every year the legislature goes to work and funds different things. We had a disappointing session at the legislature this year. This was the least amount of money invested in K-12 public education in anybody's recent memory. The percentages of the Washington State budget invested in public education have been steadily decreasing since the McCleary decision, and I think 2016, you can see that at one point it was 52% of the state budget, and now we're pushing below 44%. The dollars we received for MSOCs, materials, supplies, and operating costs is about $388,000. We don't feel like that will cover our inflationary increases this year. We received classified staffing allocation increases of $670,000 and received a little bump in special education by $237,000. Just a reminder, our gap between what's funded and what we invest in special education is upwards to $10 million. So we'll be working really hard next year, and we'll advocating for a different outcome in a long legislative session. But I wanted to share that because that's a question that's continuously come up on people's minds. With that, thank you again for coming. We look forward to hearing your testimony. And Director Perkins, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, John. Are there any questions or comments for John at this time? Then the next item on our agenda is public comments. Community members who wish to speak to the board have signed up to do so. Any community member wishing to address the board may do so at this time on the agenda for public comments. Anybody who signed up. Comments are to be directed to the board of directors as a whole and may not be addressed to any individual member of the board, the administrative staff, or the audience. Although the board will not engage in dialogue, the board chair may ask a speaker a clarifying question or follow up at a later time on an issue raised during public comment. Each speaker has a maximum of 2 minutes this evening to ensure we hear from as many voices as possible. After the first hour of comments, we'll take a 10-minute break. Following the break, we'll resume public comments for an additional hour and then close comments for the evening and move forward with the agenda. There is no mechanism whereby a speaker can donate some or all of their time to another speaker. No individual may speak more than once per regular meeting, even if there is time remaining. And please state your name and district affiliation, if any. I'd like us to begin with the one person who signed up for an online comment. Is Brian Cleary ready to go? Good evening, Mr. Cleary. Can you unmute your microphone, please?
How about that?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, so much better. Sorry. So Brian Clary, I'm a librarian at Marion Elementary School. So I just wanted to note how odd it is that the research that's done both locally and nationally is so incongruent with the decision that you seem to have made. The focal points certainly being the community aspect and the impact on student learning. Specifically, I'm referring to the research out of the Pew Research Center from just after COVID hit 2020. It said 65% of our community thinks that closing libraries would hurt our community. And that number bumps up to 78% if you isolate the Hispanic community members. And yes, before you ask, Southwest Washington was or is represented in that study. My research from the U.S. Department of Education also revealed, excuse me, that Evergreen will join a list of other public school communities that have abandoned teacher librarians in West Virginia, Oklahoma, Alabama, New Mexico, Oregon, and Mississippi, all of which rank at the bottom of student test scores as well as the percentage of student graduations. And yes, before you ask, the 10 states with the highest test scores and highest percentage of student graduation all have school library programs K-12. I know money is short, And I know something's got to give. And I know that affluent people do not always see the need for libraries. I do wonder if you are looking beyond the current crisis to see the need for a well-educated constituency, one in which students, the students you are asked to advocate for, are given the means to support their own learning. That's all I got.
Thank you, Mr. Clary. Thank you for your comments. What I'd like to do is call the first 4 people forward that are on the list, and I would ask you all to come forward and take seats in the front row in order to expedite the time so that we don't go over that hour. The first 4 are Megan Taylor, Catherine Furtick, Angela Gates, and Corey Ward. And please, if I've mispronounced your name, I welcome a correction. Megan Taylor?
Yep.
Ms. Taylor, please begin.
Good evening. My name is Megan Taylor. I am a parent of a 4th grader here in the Evergreen district. I want to talk about the proposed cuts of the teacher librarians at the elementary school level. Last year, you cut teacher librarians at the middle and high school levels, even after hearing repeated testimony from families and students appealing to you and asking if you understood the importance and benefits of those individuals within those schools. You still eliminated them. Now you are looking to remove the teacher librarians at the elementary level, which in my opinion is where they are needed the most. As a child, the library was always a haven for me, and I know there are a lot of kids within the Evergreen district that feel the same way. My son is struggling to understand why the man who recommends great books and helps him and his classmates find new and interesting subjects to research could possibly no longer be there. Why someone who helps the teachers at his school when they're preparing specific lessons, helps provide them with additional content and resources to explain their subjects, who teaches our kids to code and writes grants and introduces students to so much outside of the classroom. How is his position considered no longer needed? How is he considered expendable? There are students at my son's school who never even touch a book unless they are in that building. Students who don't have resources outside of school, people who could recommend books for them, resources for finding out more, or just someone who inspires. So why does our school district feel that these are the areas that should be cut? As Harold Howe once said, what a school thinks about its library is a measure of what it feels about education. So tonight we bring you words from students in your district. We bring you their voices, their reasons for why teacher librarians need to be in the building and why they make a difference in their lives. We hope you listen. We hope you reconsider what you're doing with this district and this budget. I leave you with one final note. At the end of the last workshop, when the board members met to discuss the proposed budget cuts, Superintendent Boyd turned to the community and commented, "I'd like to remind everyone that our schools are underfunded. But my comment to you, Superintendent Boyd, is this. Our schools may be underfunded, but the salaries of the individuals who work in this building most certainly do not reflect that."
The time has expired. Thank you for your comments.
So I'll give the forms over here.
Catherine Furtick.
Good evening. My name is Catherine Furtick. Cutting librarians and security will be a strategic plan to fail. Elementary librarians are at the heart of foundational learning. They provide a safe haven from a noisy, increasingly chaotic environment. Declines in reading scores have been documented in schools losing librarians. Hardest hit are those benefiting most from them. Title I and ELL students show higher reading, writing, informational literacy scores, and higher graduation rates. EPS is over 50% low-income demographic. Librarians are integral to educational equity, leaders in technology, research skills, and digital citizenship, vital to success in global technology. Their cuts will have a clear domino effect on secondary education and beyond. We cannot afford to lose our librarians. Regarding security, I find it reckless and irresponsible that it was ever considered as an area to cut, particularly after the shooting and numerous middle school incidents. Middle school was a constant fighting ground pre-pandemic. My girls spoke of the lunchroom emptied out often because of fights. Post-pandemic numbers of incidents have skyrocketed. Would Mr. Boyd say to all those students and teachers still grappling with the effects of the shooting, their emotional pleas for more security, the testimony of parents, including myself, who said their children are afraid that our security numbers are really quite robust comparatively? I'm appalled to hear it in the same context. Those numbers are clearly inadequate for an increased need. Security cuts following so many incidents, including a particularly violent and bloody fight outside my child's classroom barely a week after the shooting, caused the words of the board and superintendent to yet again ring hollow. It feels like the alarm that should have been a huge wake-up call had the snooze button hit or ignored entirely. Whether this was your intent or not, the result is the same. Cutting librarians and security will be a strategic plan to fail. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker is Angela Gates. Ms. Gates, welcome.
Hello, my name is Angela Gates, and I am a mom to a third grader and a first grader at Emerald Elementary School. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I also stay at home with a 3-year-old who is developmentally delayed. Since the cuts last year to our library and our assistants, I have been volunteering Monday mornings for 2 to 3 hours in our school library. I help check in books and make sure that these books are reshelved so that our students can check these books out again. My first thought when seeing your proposed budget cuts for this year was, why would you cut something as important as the library to our students? That should be the last thing on your list. Along with music, PE, library is a time that many students enjoy. It is essential to the learning, development, and education to our students. How many elementaries do you know that have actually cut their libraries and their librarians? Not many. Elementary librarians are some of the hardest working staff in our schools. They support our teachers, help out in our classrooms, substitute in our classrooms very regularly, teach lessons to every class, sing songs, do story time, and other activities daily with our students. Not to mention all of the monthly reading challenges and school events that they do within our school and during the summertime. Our young students don't just sit on the screens at home. They are sent home with books from our library on a weekly basis from the lessons and times that they are given books during the week when they go to library. Currently, our Emerald Elementary School librarian is teaching our third graders how to type in order to prepare them for standardized testing, which is all done on the computer. She is teaching our fifth graders how to create a PowerPoint presentation. Who will do this? These are necessary lessons for the future education of our children.
Ms. Gates, I'm sorry to interrupt, but the time has expired.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Corey Ward. Good evening.
I'm Corey Ward. I have 5 children in the Evergreen School District. Sorry. I run and own 2 small businesses and manage my household of 7. I'm fully aware of the challenges that come with budgeting and budget cuts. Our superintendent and school board have made it very clear by your actions that you choose to not listen to parent and teacher feedback and that you kind of don't care about the kids in the school. In regards to paraeducators, I'm the mom who's gotten the phone call to come get my son because he's unable to stay in the general classroom and there are no paras to assist. Despite the director of special education saying schools being short 1 to 2 paras in each school is not a real strain, it is. This affected his entire class because his teacher had to stop the entire class to help him because there was no para available to support. Part of the teacher strike at the beginning of the year involved the need for more paras. Parents are also asking for more paras. Parents like me who want their child fully supported as is written out and he is legally entitled to in his IEP. And also parents who want their child unaffected by children like mine because they have the support that they need. However, once again, your actions don't seem to show that you care about these things. When budget cuts are to be made, wise and respected CEOs, business leaders know they must start at the top. So thank you for your announcement tonight that your pay cuts and the cuts to the district. However, there is still more that needs to be done. There are too many top-heavy district positions that do not need to be there or pay the amount they are. But rather than cut from the top and actually put the children first, which every board member here has proclaimed that they will do, you would rather blatantly lie to our faces and ignore what our schools and students actually need, what parents and teachers are asking and begging for, so your pay and positions go unaffected, letting those that remain take more work that they are not compensated for or potentially underqualified for, and it's our children who will suffer the consequences.
Thank you for your comments. Next 4 speakers are Nancy Doyle, Maddie Gear, Camille Lohman, and Benton Hassel. Ms. Doyle, are you here? Is Maddie Gear here? Come on up, Maddie.
Hi, my name is Maddie, and I am in 5th grade. Before I get into this too deeply, I want you to think of others, specifically children. Hundreds, if not thousands, of children before yourself, because what you're doing is cutting what kids love to give money. And I haven't even talked about the music part. Orchestra has brought on my love for music. Librarians have had so much of an impact on students. They make them love reading. This will lead them to success when they have a job, because no matter what job they will have, they're going to need to read. And think about kindergarten teachers. They're always teaching their kids how to read letters and whatnot. But the librarians are teaching them how to read books, not just letters. And if they don't have proper learning, then they might not have success in other grades. I volunteer in the library to help kindergartners, and you should see their face light up when they get to their spots. They are so focused on the book and not on each other. Librarians are perfect, but nothing's perfect. They're great. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Maddie. Camille Lohman. Welcome.
Hi, my name is Camille, and my kindergartner goes to York Elementary. And I've been performing my entire life, but nothing is quite as nerve-wracking as getting up here on a Tuesday night at dinner time and speaking in front of all of you. And I would love to say that that's because I feel like what I'm here saying and all of us are here saying matters, but I honestly don't know if that is true. I'm one of those people who has been practically begging for a legislative update anytime that I've spoken at public comment since last May at the mitigation workshop, actually. And the legislative update tonight was very disappointing. I was hoping to hear from the board, first of all. Second of all, it was only negative things. And it also took almost a year for that to happen, rather than the community being informed and having the chance to have an understanding of how we can support, how we can email our own legislators. It's really difficult to know where to start, and you're the leaders of our district. And I would hope that you'd have that guidance for us as community members. But anyway, so I have a 6-year-old, and I told him that the leaders who are in charge of the school said there isn't enough money to pay Mr. Denfeld, his librarian. And I ask you, how is this setting an example for 6-year-olds? If you're not prioritizing librarians, then that's telling them that books and reading isn't a priority. And we need to be an example as adults. So respectfully, I request that the board keep the district leadership accountable to follow the state's recommended prototypical school funding model at a minimum. I know I'm out of time and I have so much more to say, but I urge you, if you have not looked at every single line of the budget, the F-195, that we actually vote no until we have.
Thank you, Ms. Lohman. Benton Hassel. Did I pronounce that right?
Yes.
All right.
Good evening. My name is Benton Hassel, and I'm an 8th grader at Weiss Middle School. I'm the president of the orchestra at my school, as well as a member of the advanced jazz band. I decided to talk here today, even though I don't really like public speaking, because I think that music is a very important opportunity to offer to elementary schoolers. If you cut this program, it will take away an opportunity for students to experience all of the things that music has taught me. For example, music has taught me how to make commitments and how to dedicate myself to learning and getting better at skills. Also, I've built a community of lifelong friends and people who will support me in all things, not just music. Music is one of the only things that makes me excited to go to school and really motivates me to do well in all areas of my life. The current music program is a great way to see if you really love music and want to keep doing it for the rest of your life. Please don't take away this important opportunity from our elementary schoolers. Thank you.
Thank you, Benton. Nancy Doyle. If not. Okay, thank you. The next four will be Raymond Taylor, followed by Angie Wadby, and then Angie Bunda, and Tracy Barnhart. Mr. Taylor? Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Ray Taylor, father of a 4th grader in the school district. With only 2 minutes to speak, I'll get right to the point. Why is the school board and overpaid Superintendent Boyd authorizing supplemental payments to the already overpaid administrators' bargaining team that failed to avert a teacher strike? I hold in my hand copies of those supplemental contracts which paid over $30,000 to the administration bargaining team, with one person on that team receiving nearly $14,000. Is rewarding failure something you all believe is an appropriate way to spend our limited school funds? Failure to avert a strike, failure to bargain in good faith, failure to even show up to the bargaining table. It doesn't make any sense, and it reeks of corruption. Could not find a single other time a supplemental contract was given out to the bargaining team, going back to 2016. For comparisons, you know that each and every one of the individuals on the bargaining team received $500 from their own dues to compensate them for the expenses involved in bargaining with your school district. That's right, a token amount. And the board and superintendent have treated the funds in this district as their personal piggy banks. We're not done uncovering your corruption. By the time we are done, you will all need to find other jobs once your term or your contract is over.
Thank you for your comments. Angie Wadby. Welcome.
I am here on behalf of the community, students, and my health and myself on something that is very important to me. When I saw you were cutting the security in most of your recent budget cuts, I did notice tonight as I'm looking around, there's more security here in the building than the high schools have, which makes me really sad. I didn't know to laugh or cry when I saw how unrealistic that really was. Have you been inside of a high school? Why into the restrooms where they're filled with smoke from all the children smoking in there? My son tells me he can't even go into them. They're so full. So many kids standing in there, he can't even use the restroom. Fights are happening inside the restrooms. This is the same school that had a shooting just this year, but you want to cut security. How scary. how scary for the students. Do you know how lucky it is that no one got hurt? Now you want to cut security. I work in a middle school where we are going to lose our dean and a security officer. So one security officer for 850 students. This is impossible. Our security and dean are working very hard right now with behaviors from children and keeping students safe. How do you expect one person to do all that? How, as staff, are we supposed to feel safe with one person when there has been weapons found in the school recently? How am I supposed to get my special needs children to class safely through the commons area if security is not clearing a path? One person cannot do that. Who carries all the extra workload of those who will not be there next year to support the students? What about when one of my students escalates and we have to have backup help and it takes 2 hours to get them de-escalated? That means the school gets 2 hours without a security officer. By the way, that's happened 3 times this year. We've needed them for help. It can happen at any time.
Ms. Wadby, I'm sorry, but the time has expired. Thank you for your comments. Angie Bunda? Hello.
Okay, hi. Solemn faces. I wrote this out, but I don't think I'm going to read it. I know that you guys are getting yelled at. I know that you come here expecting to get yelled at. It's not a good situation for anybody. It's not a good situation for you. It's not a good situation for the parents. It's not a good situation for the kids. What I want you to realize is that every single person in this room is here because they care. They're taking it out and yelling because we don't feel heard. We want to work with you. We want to find solutions together. We want our children to be heard. I was going to talk about librarians and security guards and whatnot, but I mean, if we can't work together, when are we ever going to make a difference? I'm still kind of rocked by what Ray said. Just hearing that potentially the negotiating team may not have acted in good faith in order to get some kind of supplemental payment for what, $30,000 is, I'm pretty shocked. I think everyone should be shocked. How do we trust what we're being told when we find out these things are happening? And I don't want to yell at you. I want to work with you. I want to meet with each one of you and say, how do we do this? How do we do that? How do we do that? Let's ask the community. Let's listen to the community, and let's show that we can actually work together, because that's why we voted you in. That's why we voted you in. That's why we voted you in. You, and even you guys. Because we care about you. We want people that care about voting for what's best for our kids. And I don't think that this budget is best for our kids. And if you don't feel like you can confidently say it's best, I ask you to delay it, to make a motion to say no or delay. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments, Angie. Tracy Barnhart.
My name is
Good evening.
Tracy Barnhart. I'm an academic interventionist at Mill Plain Elementary, and my kids attend Mountain View High School. Money's the bottom line, and I don't understand why it takes 3 years to think about closing buildings that are under capacity. I fully expected Mill Plain to be closed this year because our numbers were so low last year. No one will be happy about closing schools. Nobody's happy now with budget cuts for a second year. Crestline burned and kids were dispersed. Projections predict that enrollment is not going up. Enrollments, elementary schools, are going to become emptier as the years go on. I propose that we rent out the district office, and these are the options that I suggest for staff. One is to work from home. It is not ideal, I know that. But adults can manage their time, and they can be responsible to get their work done. District office jobs are not student-facing. Meetings can be Zoom, or they can arrange to be in an empty classroom that we have. Or two, district office staff can spread out among those schools with dwindling enrollment. Board meetings can be held in a high school auditorium or in a gym. The Columbian newspaper built a brand new building and they couldn't afford it and they relocated. I'm just asking that we consider renting the district office. I also suggest if we can find a way to partner with a company that doesn't gouge on school supplies. I know we don't have a lot of money for that. And the payout of my job as an academic interventionist is not visible sometimes for many years. It's not a spectacular concert from a high school jazz band. It's not a state championship from an athletic team. We fill in the gaps that exist in the students' learning of our most fragile students so that these students can become the state champs or the trumpet soloists or a physicist or a world leader, any of those things, so they have confidence in themselves that they can learn. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
The next four speakers will be Kathy Selfridge, followed by Mary Elias, Linda Davis, and Adam Aguilera.
My name is Kathleen Selfridge, and I am an elementary academic interventionist at Mill Plain Elementary School. Elementary academic interventionists work with struggling learners in schools. Due to this district's lack of special ed staffing, we have taken on more students with IEPs. Due to this district's elimination of our newcomers program, we have taken on more students who have limited English skills or who do not speak English at all. We work our tails off to help overwhelmed classroom teachers help students succeed. We are an integral piece to student success in our schools. Yet you propose to cut an additional 6.5 positions to our intervention program after last year's tragic slash of 22 positions. That will result in an average of 1 to 1.5 interventionists at each school, where we are already understaffed and unable to serve the needs of our students. The President of the United States has increased Title I funding to help provide students in low-income communities with necessary academic opportunities and supports. Evergreen Public Schools is taking away support from students. We work with some of our most vulnerable students, and you want to reduce us again. The Secretary of State, Miguel Cardona, delivered remarks focused on fighting toxic disrespect against teachers and public schools. I feel disrespected by my school district. I feel demoralized. These proposed cuts to positions which work directly with students is unconscionable. Evergreen Public Schools says we are practicing equity, yet the students who we serve in our intervention groups are the most at-risk learners. They deserve respect and attention. How can you justify reducing services to them?
Thank you for your comments.
Please excuse me.
Mary Elias.
Hi, I'm Mary Elias, and I'm an academic interventionist at Silver Star. I'm also a tax-paying constituent in the Ellsworth neighborhood. Several years ago, the district adopted Fountas and Pinnell reading curriculum for K through 5. It has gotten some high-quality texts in the hands of students and aligned instruction across the district. However, the phonics component is not adequate for teaching students with dyslexia and other reading disorders or struggles. According to John Hattie, a teaching and learning analyst, whole language curriculum like Fountas and Pinnell curriculum is likely to only have a small positive impact on student learning. Fountas and Pinnell curriculum does not include orthographic mapping, which is where a student gradually builds a permanent storage system in their brain for written words. Certified academic interventionists are some of the only teachers trained to use this approach. Hattie's research shows that the methods used to teach orthographic mapping has potential to considerably accelerate student learning, which is necessary for struggling readers. Knowing that Fountains and Pinnell doesn't fully meet the needs of students who struggle, it's unimaginable to me that you'd continue reducing the academic interventionist team. Who will accelerate learning for students with reading disorders and difficulties? Where will they get appropriate phonics instruction if there's only one trained teacher in the building? I encourage the school board members to direct the decision-making team at the district to find cuts that are further away from students who are struggling to achieve their basic fundamental human right of learning how to read. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Elias. Linda Davis.
You gave me 10 extra seconds. Hi, I'm Linda Davis. I'm also an academic interventionist, and this is my 31st year in this district, Evergreen. I've seen the ups and downs of the budget cuts and those years when we had one-ply toilet paper. But I have never seen anything like this in the last, what's been happening in these last 2 years, ever. I mean, I feel as if I'm in the twilight zone when we think of low achievement in literacy, correlating with high rates of dropout, poverty, and underemployment, and yet we're proposing to cut the people who serve those children and our elementary librarians. So we mentioned that you cut 20 academic interventionists last year. You're proposing to cut 6.5 more. And yet I think one of the biggest goals of public education is to create a literate society. I mean, how can we justify this? Removing some of the most highly trained, skilled professionals, or leaving us down to such a bare bone minimum that we are drowning. Intervention teachers are not a luxurious budget item. We're a need. Like when you go through your budget, wants and needs, we are a need. Time and again, research is confirming that it's not a program that helps these children, okay? Regardless of the quality of the program or the approach, it's the teacher and the learning situation that make the difference. And intervention, early intervention in the elementaries is the best. We are a large part of Tier 2 in the multi-tiered support system that we have adopted, that we are supposed to be part of. Those things on Nikki's poster, those are the things that we do as part of Tier 2. So please help us go back and look at the drawing board. See some other areas that you can cut above literacy in a school district.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Mr. Aguilera. Good evening.
Good evening, school board. Adam Aguilera, middle school language arts teacher. As staff members of this district, we are outraged about the news that the superintendent Boyd signed off on the district's bargaining team receiving supplemental contracts to keep bargaining up to September 5th, which was 4 days into the strike. We have a question for the Evergreen School Board. Did you know about these supplemental contracts? Now that people know the truth that the district administrators were incentivized not to settle a fair contract to start the school year on time, how can any of these administrators be responsible for supervising other staff when everyone they interact with now will know that these district administrators paid themselves over $31,000 in bonuses while recommending cuts of over $40 million over 3 years? We can't fathom why the senior director of education, who already makes about $200,000 a year, would accept a $4,600 bonus when the elementary librarians she oversees are being cut. We don't understand how a senior director of human resources, who makes about $200,000 a year, is allowed to take $4,700 in more resources while cutting the humans. We don't know how a chief financial officer making $230,000 a year by balancing the budget with over $40 million in cuts is then okay receiving a $7,700 bonus for herself. And what credibility does the chief operations officer have making $245,000 a year and accepting $14,000 more for failing to lead the district bargaining team to settle a fair contract to start the school year on time? We have ethical concerns about the superintendent directing all administrators to take a pay cut and furlough days when these top administrators have basically been prepaid to take those days off. That is not right to do that to our building administrators while cutting all these jobs by the very same district administrators who are protecting their own employment and salaries. If any of the Evergreen School Board directors here feel left out in the dark about this and their voice not heard about how the district just spent this money, congratulations. Now you know how it feels to be just like the rest of us.
Thank you for your comments.
Next group is Courtney Bissig, followed by Stephen Houston, and then Paul Gwynn, and then Khalil Wakrim. Ms. Bissig, welcome.
Hi, my name is Courtney Bissig. I'm a mom of 2 in the district, and I'm an active community member. I'm here to address the supplemental contracts that were given out during the bargaining at the beginning of the 2023-2024 school year. I have a few questions that I want to ask, and I will be emailing them to all of you to hopefully get the answers. I also wonder if the school board knew about these supplemental contracts. I wonder, with no precedent of issuing supplemental contracts during bargaining with other labor groups, who thought it was a good idea to pay these district administrators extra during the 3rd year of budget cuts? How were the amounts of compensation determined between each district bargaining team member? And why did the chief operations officer receive nearly half the money for failing to settle for a fair contract to start the school year on time and get our kids back in the classroom? Based on the lack of good judgment for these district administrators to accept this money, can the district publicly explain why these positions get to keep their jobs when they do not work directly with the students and whose obscene salaries are burdened to the district's finances? I am frustrated and having a hard time understanding why the superintendent would make the decision to sign off on paying these bonuses to a district bargaining team that bargained against addressing safety concerns or pay for additional support for special needs students that led to a strike. And now we are discussing cutting additional security as well as student-facing employees and programs. It is disappointing that our board let $31,000 go to bonuses to top paid administration heading into another year of million-dollar cuts. Because in the end, it's for the students. And if it isn't, you're in the wrong profession.
Thank you for your comments. The next speaker is Stephen Houston. Mr. Houston?
Good evening.
Hi, my name is Steve. This will be a little bit different subject here. My name is Steve Houston. I spent a volunteer time mainly at Weiss Middle School in 3 periods of 8th grade math, usually 2 to 3 days a week, depending on testing schedules and other obligations. Benton is one of the students I have the wonderful chance of helping out. In a recent conversation with my 8th grade teacher, I learned that finally an algebra class was going to be offered to next year's students. What I was not pleased about was the revelation that the district, hence my being here tonight, district was dictating that the class be open to all 8th grade students. This is a very, very bad idea. My experience in watching 8th graders both this year and last year is that there's some who can barely add the fractions 1/2 and 1/3 together. It's 5/6, by the way. More than likely, these students, if they elect to take the algebra class, which they would be able to if it's open to everybody, will not be able to keep up, and they'll drop down to the standard 8th grade class, dejected and demoralized that they do not understand math. This would not be good for their development in the long run, and it would be setting them up for failure. As an alternate, I would suggest that interested students take a test and have a 2-part screening process in place. Any student with a score of, say, 80, whatever, they're in. But then have the students between 80 and 70, let's say, have their math teachers review their progress. And, you know, John doesn't take tests well. This one is going to be doing well, even though they got a low score. And get them to be able to take this and take this class When I was in 8th grade, last century, I was allowed to go into algebra in 8th grade. It was a experimental project, and that enabled me to take geometry in high school and to go all the way through calculus, even before they had AP calculus. And I got a master's degree in statistics out of it, and that's all that. So it would be really good to not have everybody be able to do a test like that, in my opinion. But I don't know which of you or any of you has that power to change that. Anyway, but yes, he's one of the good ones, and I'm really happy to have him here and happen to have had the experience to work with him and others. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Houston. Paul Gwynn.
My name is Paul Gwynn, and I'm a father of 4 children who are in the district in 9th grade, 5th grade, 3rd grade, and kindergarten. I've had kids in the district for a decade, and all of them have had or currently have Mr. Court as their librarian at Fircrest. They love Mr. Court, my 2 boys especially. Saving the elementary librarians was never even a blip on the radar of things that parents needed to be concerned about, but here we are. I won't bore you with the details about librarians being learning leaders and creating a space for students that's not only safe, but also equitable. But I will say that one of my children especially has benefited greatly from the elementary library program, and specifically the school librarian, Mr. Court. School is not his favorite thing, but things like Makerspace has helped him find belonging and a place of respite from the school day. After starting kindergarten during COVID, my now 3rd grader has been helped tremendously by Fircrest Library Program. My children talk about Mr. Court and the library program more than any of the other specialists at their school, in fact, more than their in-class teachers. So why is there no money for librarians for students, but there's $31,000 in paid bonuses for top district administrators who are already making more than the governor of the state? Cutting librarians, security guards, and deans, but giving bonuses to the bargaining team shows where this district places value. My 6th grader posed a very simple yet astute question. With regard to the library, security guard, and dean cuts, how can one person now do the job of 2? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Houston. Or Mr. Gwynn. Khalil Wakrim. Please correct my pronunciation if I missed it.
Hi, my name is Khalil Wakrim. I attend Covington Middle School. I started orchestra in 5th grade. I have been playing for 3 years, and I love it. I don't want band or orchestra to be cut. This will take away the opportunity for students to learn about music. I learned about positivity and community. I have made so many friends in my class due to orchestra. It will be a great thing for kids who take band or orchestra, for them to learn about other core subjects. And if orchestra does get cut, I'd take time out of my day to go into some 5th grade schools and teach the 5th graders about orchestra.
Thank you for your comments, Khalil. How far in are we? Has it been an hour? Okay. Another 4. Let's continue then with Teresa Hawkins, Jenny Vertiska, Mary Wallingford, and Claire Curtis, please. Good evening.
Hi. Dear members of the school board, I stand before you today as a teacher, a mother, and a concerned taxpayer in this community. I need for you to make some sense out of these proposed budget cuts. You say that the cuts are the furthest they can be from the children. Instead, it will be our children who will suffer the most. Number 1, you propose to cut elementary teacher librarians. This does not make sense. The librarians see every child in the school for an academic purpose. Who will teach them library and media skills, online safety, and emerging learning technologies? Para-educators and instructional coaches cannot. Who will provide teachers with their contracted planning time? Number 2, someone told me that you propose to replace teachers' contractual planning time with academic coaches and or interventionists. This does not make sense. The coaches will not be coaching the teachers. Why have coaches when they won't be coaching? They do not work with children and then not with teachers? Number 3, you propose keeping instructional coaches and language specialists at the expense of said teacher librarians. This does not make sense. Coaches and language specialists do not work with students and do not impact student learning. Teacher librarians do. Number 4, you hired a deputy superintendent at the price tag of over $250,000 when you knew this budget crisis was coming. This does not make sense. This person does not work with children and does not impact student learning. Number 5, you are reducing our academic interventionists again and using the rest of them to cover the planning time of the teachers to cover the loss of the teacher librarians. Again, this does not make sense. These are the most highly trained teachers in reading. They will not be doing their job of working with our most fragile readers. These teachers were trained in Orton Gillingham to help our dyslexic readers and reading endorse, but they will be a filler for planning? Considering that 67% of all elementary readers are below grade level based on our latest elementary reading diagnostic iReady, this does not make sense. I implore you to reconsider these budget cuts, go back to the drawing board and find alternative ways, more sensible ways to trim more at the top and keep our children at the forefront. Thank you.
Jenny Vertiska, good evening.
Hi. Hello, school board and superintendent. My name is Jenny Vertiska, and I have 2 students in the district. I am here once again to ask the board to send this proposal of cuts back to the superintendent to be reworked. We need librarians in our elementary schools. You just celebrated Read Across America Week. How can you celebrate reading yet remove all of your librarians? We need security staff and deans of students. They keep our students and everyone in the buildings safe. According to the OSPI data portal's report card for discipline for the 2022-23, 5.3% of all students experienced some sort of exclusion as discipline. Looking closer at the grade level data, 10% of 6th graders, 13% of 7th graders, and 12% of 8th graders received some sort of exclusion as discipline. These students are the largest percentage of discipline cases. They need more support, not less. Security and the Dean of Students build relationships with these students and are part of a proactive approach to prevent issues that lead to violence. Removing the middle school Dean of Students and a security position seems like a recipe for disaster. If students don't feel safe, they can't be expected to learn. If staff members don't feel safe, they can't be expected to teach. We need the academic interventionists. Looking at the 2022-23 SBA and WCAS test scores published on the OSPI website, we still have a ways to go in recovering from learning loss experienced due to the pandemic. Only 37% of our students are at grade level for ELA, and only 26% of our students are at grade level for math, compared to 49% and 39% respectively for 2018-19. Give the students the support they need and deserve to at least reach grade level standards. Board members, the public elected you to represent our interests. We have been telling you clearly and often to send this reduction proposal back to the superintendent. The last year has brought the community together, and we will only get stronger, more informed, and more vocal as we continue to see services taken away from our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Vertiska. Mary Wallingford?
Sorry?
Are you Mary Wallingford?
No, sorry.
Ms. Wallingford, are you here? Are you Claire?
Yes.
Come on up. It's okay.
I was excited.
Mm.
Okay. My name is Claire Curtis. I have 3 children in the district, and I'm a special education paraprofessional. A child's shoulders are not built to bear the weight of an adult's poor choices. Our children will pay for your choices today. There's an old proverb about 2 men. The first man builds his house on a rock. The second builds his house on the sand. The rains come, and only the house of the first man survives. This is what you are doing to our schools. You are removing our foundation. We have shootings, fights, and lockdowns at our school. Now is not the time to be removing our security. Children cannot learn if they don't feel safe. Children are being underserved, if served at all, by a lack of paraeducators in our schools. Librarians do much more than check out books. They read books. They create an environment where books are an adventure. They create relationships with students and are able to suggest on-level books that will help
that will be of interest to our students. They run clubs, create curiosity, and promote working together. I saw our amazing librarian, Mr. Brian Cleary, crawling up the stairs with a student with Down syndrome for his physical therapy. Reading levels will go down without our teacher librarians. Now is not the time to remove our teacher librarians. Please keep our security officers so that our children are safe and able to learn. Please provide the supports necessary that all students, especially our special education students, have the support they need to be successful. Please remember that a library without a librarian is a room full of books. We need to give them hope so they can lead. Without our foundation, there is no hope. Please don't remove our foundation. Without our foundation, we will fail.
Thank you for your comments. One more call. Ms. Wallingford, are you here? Okay, thank you. We'll go from here to take a 10-minute break and then resume with Greg Raykemper, Kieran Raykemper, Emma Wells, and Amy Prentice. We'll reset. We'll reconvene in just a moment here. Okay, let's begin. Our next speaker is Greg Raykemper.
Raykemper, yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak today. I'm glad to say that I'm not here to yell at you guys about any of the heavy stuff, none of the security things, but I do have some concerns about how some of the funds are distributed amongst different sports and athletics. I wasn't able to find any of the information online, which I was kind of disappointed by. I'd like to see how that money is spent and where the other funds are coming from, what's coming from McKenzie Stadium when they have the football games, and where is that money going. But I'm here mostly to advocate for my daughter's cheer team. Right now, parents are paying about $1,200 out of pocket every year for each student. And these girls, they dedicate their weekends, their afternoons, just, their whole lifestyle to contributing and supporting the school spirit and the team. And I don't feel like they get the same support back. They don't even get transportation to the games that they're required to go to. And to think that they can't afford a bus ticket on a sports bus heading to the same place that they're going to be is a little disappointing. So I would like to see just more help from the school and maybe a little bit of allocation, maybe from some of the other sports. I don't see a whole lot of baseball teams out there doing car washes to raise money for more baseballs. So why do we have the cheerleaders out there doing car washes to buy pom-poms? That's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Raykemper. John, perhaps someone could loop back with him about funding sources and those expenses that he asked about. Thank you. Kieran Raykemper. Welcome, Kieran.
Thank you. Hello. Today I'm here to talk about the support of the cheerleading team. We are always out there cheering in the rain and in the cold. I'm just wanting more support from our school. We are treated very much less than other sports in our district. We made it second in state this year. We had won multiple trophies. And we don't get any recognition for that. Nobody knew, besides a simple email that went out to teachers, that we had made it second in state. We do not get funding to go to these camps. We have to raise those fundings on our own. We have to get transportation on our own to go to those competitions. We were seen as less than. We were told that we are less than. It's called an easy sport, and it is not. You have to be very, very strong. You have to be very flexible, and you have to have a lot of spirit. our school will not give us a bus ride. We get one bus ride for the entire cheer program, one, and that is usually used to go to one game that is 2 hours away, not including any other schools that might be an hour away. We do not get transportation to those. We do not get our POMs, our uniforms, or anything paid for. We self-pay for everything fully. We can't even get into our cheer garage half of the time because they push out the wall and they do not inform us beforehand of that. So oftentimes we are left to struggle. We have to flip up the seats ourselves and have someone come over and push the wall back so we can get our mats. So all I'm asking is that the school shows us a little more respect, appreciation, support, and acknowledgement. Thank you.
Thank you, Kieran. Emma Wells. Ms. Wells? Amy Prentice. Thank you. Welcome. Good evening.
Hi, good evening. My name is Amy Prentice. I have a first grader in Evergreen as well as a second grader. I am here to talk to you again and just again plead for you to take a look at the budget cuts that are proposed and re-examine the cuts that you're making, especially at the elementary school level, to teacher librarians, academic interventionists, fifth grade band and orchestra. Not to mention at the middle and high school level to security and to the dean of students. Those are all extraordinarily important student-facing positions. And there are other areas that you can cut from positions that don't interact daily teaching students. My daughter, my 8-year-old daughter, wrote a letter. She wrote, "Dear Board, I'm probably only one of the kids writing a letter. The reasons I think you should keep librarians are, number one, what is going to happen to the kids who don't have librarians? Number two, librarians have seasonal books, which some kids really love those books. Number three, the library may be more than just books. They could be new worlds of ideas. Number four, the library is not just a place to read, it is a place to think. And some kids do not have space like it. I do not want to fight. All I want is to read and write. The end. Thank you for your time and goodbye." From my daughter, Madeline. Since I have a couple seconds left, I just want to say again, the people in this room, I think, are the biggest advocates and the biggest supporters of our school system. And I worry that if you proceed with the cuts that you've put forward without any revisions regarding teacher librarians in particular and security, you're not going to have the community behind you. We've showed up over and over, month after month, meeting after meeting, through surveys, and every opportunity we have to speak to you. And I just want to say, I don't want to see an unintended consequence of this to become that you do not have the community support next time you need to pass a levy. Because if you look back in February of 2022, there were over 14,000 people who showed up and voted no on the Evergreen levy, and it failed by over 14%. You reran it in April. Those same 14,000 people showed up to vote no, but it took yes votes and turnout of yes votes to get it passed. So we want to work with you and do that again, but you have to work with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. One more call for Emma Wells. Okay. Our next four will be Valerie Williams, Malaya Williams, Lydia Williams, and Bruce Barnes.
Make me go first.
Ms. Williams.
Hello, my name is Valerie Williams. I have 3 children at Evergreen School District, 2 in the dual Spanish speaking program and 1 in the English program. How can Evergreen School District say kids first when they make cuts that directly affect our kids? So interesting that the cuts go directly to our kids instead of the district office. Let me remind you that the district office only has jobs because of our kids.
Last year alone, you cut over 22 interventionalists, and this year you want to cut 6.5 more positions. This year alone, we've had very little academic intervention, yet you're wanting to cut more. Why? As a parent, I'm extremely invested due to both of my children currently receiving the assistance from these programs. Currently, there is only one bilingual teacher in the whole district that serves as a bilingual intervention teacher. If you eliminate her position, you will push her into a classroom, leaving only para-educators to oversee this with no guidance, no training, and support to service our highest need in the dual language learners, including my son, Wyatt. How is this equitable to our students and parents in this program that are thriving to learn a second language? Recently, I have been notified my son haven't been receiving services for the last 5 weeks to the DI intervention team, being pulled away for testing kindergartners. 5 weeks with no additional support in his classroom that he desperately needs to be successful in this program. There needs to be more consideration and review on how bilingual intervention teachers are being cut or position being threatened or for elimination. Currently, this program services over 69 kids today at our school at Pioneer Elementary. Oh, there's so much. I just have.
I'm so sorry. Thank you for your comments. Malaya Williams? Did I pronounce that correctly?
It's Malia Williams.
Malia, welcome.
Hello, my name is Malia Williams. I am an 8th grader at YU's Middle School. I'm here today to talk about security. And one of the biggest struggles at our schools are behaviors. I mean, how would you know? I mean, you don't come into our middle schools to see what the behaviors are that occur there. You don't do weekly checks or anything. So you don't pretend or say that middle schools is fine or safe. I don't think you understand how middle schools in these days, since you haven't done anything to make sure that it is safe for all of us. If we are limited to one security, it would be the biggest downfall ever. We need one male and one female at all times, even just more security at all middle schools. What happens when security needs to search a certain gender student? I know they think they can get admin to help, but when they have to do bathroom checks on a daily basis, they have to do them quickly, and there isn't time to wait for admin to help out. They also get calls from security to go to the girls' boys' locker rooms because of an incident or a fight. And when or if they get admin to help, the problem would already happen and get worse. All you're doing is making school not safe for anyone. If anything, take one associate principal and put them down to the part-time. The excess money will be better used with more people who deal with behaviors. Most security does more than 100% of their jobs, and they should already be doing 99% of the time. They don't even take their lunch because they are so busy. They are asked to wear many different hats, but they never complain. They should be doing the jobs that should have been your responsibility to fulfill and to fix. Words that current staff members have said that these employees, security, dean, and parent educators have made lasting impressions on these students' lives. I have seen high school students come back to visit and say hi and tell them how they are doing, and at the point, they have realized that they have been and always will be an important part of their life. They bring the best out of them, and they will forever leave a lasting impression in them.
Thank you for your comments, Malia. Lydia Williams? Welcome, Lydia. Happy birthday.
Hello, my name is Lydia Williams, and I go to Pioneer Elementary, and I'm in 4th grade. Tonight I wanted to talk about my school librarian and my school reading group, who I might lose from this upcoming budget cuts. My school librarian is Mr. Sunkel. What I love most about my library is that it is a calm and peaceful place that helps me calm my thoughts. Mr. Sunkel is our school librarian. He helps provide the newest books and teaches students all about them. The library program is more than just a book. The library is a heart and center of my school. I love being able to read a book when I want to. What happens when kids can't afford books or need a book in their own language? Maybe our library is the only place they can go to. Miss Randy is my reading specialist, and this year, all alone, I have grown 1 year worth of reading, but I did it less than in 6 months. With the help of our school specialist, I am a year alone of budget cuts. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Okay, our next four will be Bruce Barnes, followed by Deanna Hamburger, Sonia Wakrim, and Megan Douglas. Are you Mr. Barnes?
Good evening, school board. I wish I was here on a different situation here, but you've all received my letter of criminal negligence, and that means that every one of you from this day forward will be criminally liable, which means civilly liable, if you fail to protect the students of the Evergreen School District. It is really disheartening to find out that you want to cut out the security staff when my friend's daughter has not only been beaten once, twice, but 3 times by 5 different girls. At the same time, she's a Cree Indian. If I was to say that this African-American woman that sits on your board was to walk outside to this parking lot and get beat by 5 women, that'd be called a hate crime. Why is it not called it here? Number one. Number two, you've got a bullying policy that not only you don't go by with your students, but don't go by with your faculty. I've heard rumors that you've bullied faculty members and creeped on their public domains on their internet, Facebook, Instagram, and other things, and tried to hold their jobs over top of their heads, right? This is very disturbing, and when I hear of bonuses being given out, I think of the word theft by deception, because I brought my tax statement tonight just for the Evergreen School District, which gives me 9,000 reasons almost to be here. $9,000 a year to schools. And when I look at the raping of the timber in our public lands, I look at marijuana tax, I look at road tax, I look at tax after tax after tax. I can't understand, as a manager of an electrical company that I'd worked for 19 years and had to balance budgets to make a profit, how this is even happening. Has none of you ever taken a financial algebra class that teaches that, you know, credit card debt and you need a new pair of shoes, but you don't need a $600 pair of Nikes? When I look at these buildings and these Taj Mahal schools that are being built, it's no wonder that the budget's crashing, right? And I'm trying to figure out where Monica Stonier is here, right? She's a state legislator.
Sorry,
she
but
should be
your
made
time has
aware of this
expired,
and
sir.
will be. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Deanna Hamburger.
Hi, I'm Deanna Hamburger, and I'm a teacher librarian at Endeavor Elementary, and I also have a grandchild that goes to school there. Members of the Evergreen School Board, I stand here pleading with you to please save our school library program. The budget plan presented at the last board meeting suggested that cutting the 22 elementary teacher librarians would provide $3,256,000 in relief, but that is actually a false number. TLs have seniority, so instead of that money going away, it just gets moved to another place. We will all go back into the classrooms, thereby bumping out a newer teacher with less experience who makes much less. What we will be losing is much greater than suggested. Do you realize that TLs teach hundreds of students each week? We develop lessons for making literacy connections, teaching researching skills which build in complexity each year, using common sense media to teach digital citizenship to students so they can learn how to be safer online. Technology skills such as typing, basic coding, and digital book talks. We teach about copyright, the U.S. Constitution, and citizenship, which keep our schools in compliance with Washington state requirements. We collaborate with classroom teachers to support their curriculum, as well as give them 30 minutes of planning time. No plan has been made to fill that void like we can. Do you realize that teacher, librarians, research, apply, and procure grants that make up approximately half of the funds that we receive to purchase books and materials for our libraries? For example, I have been a teacher librarian for nearly 14 years in our district, and I have received well over $30,000 in grants for our students, for our library and materials. Who is going to do all this if I and other teacher librarians are gone? It is unrealistic to expect half-time classified media assistants serving 2 schools to fill this need. Our library program has suffered budget cuts each time a reduction happens. We had a vision to make our students world-ready and highly competitive, but now it's our students who will be losing their teachers of library information, who will make credible research resources available and make the love of reading meaningful for our students.
Thank you for your comments. Sonia Wakram?
Hi.
Hi.
You guys have already met my son, Khalil, who graciously offered to teach orchestra to Image Elementary, where he came from. He's the reason why I'm here. My name is Sonia. I have 2 boys who attend Covington Middle School. Both of them started orchestra in the 5th grade at Image Elementary. Orchestra has a special place in my heart because I have a son who is autistic. He was shy, reserved, and quiet until he started orchestra. He loves playing all the time. If you have a child on the spectrum, then you understand the feeling of when your child finds their niche. He has found his niche in orchestra. He tells me going to orchestra is the best part of his day. I see the joy it brings him. I see the progress he has made since the 5th grade. All ASD parents wait for their moment when their child finds their niche. It breaks my heart to hear that other 5th grade students may not get the chance to experience orchestra in elementary school. Please do not cut this program. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Megan Douglas.
Hello, my name is Megan Douglas. I'm currently part of Hearthwood Elementary PTA, have 2 kids in the Evergreen School District, and my husband graduated from Mountain View. We chose this school district to buy a home and raise our kids in because of the raving reviews of how the school system was dedicated to the kids' education. My husband, having firsthand experience in this particular school system himself, thought we would have no issues. Sadly, this year, I have not only heard of possible school closures, but being discussed, but not now we are fighting for something that should never be taken away from our kids, our librarian teachers. Since 1992, a growing body of research known as the School Librarian Impact Studies has consistently shown positive correlations between high-quality library programs and student achievement. Data from more than 34 statewide studies suggests that students tend to earn better standardized test scores in schools that have strong library programs. Further, when administrators, teachers, and librarians themselves rated the importance and frequency of various library practices associated with student learning, their ratings correlated with student test scores, further substantiating claims of librarians' benefits. In addition, newer studies conducted over the last several years show that strong school libraries are also linked to other important indicators of student success, including graduation rates and mastery of academic standards. In these statewide studies, the most substantial and consistent finding is a positive relationship between full-time qualified school librarians and scores on standards-based language arts, reading, and writing test, regardless of student demographics and school characteristics. By removing our 22 librarians, it is based on facts and research. Our reading, writing, and language arts scores will fall. Our librarian is our soul at Hearthwood Elementary. The librarian is right in the middle of our building. Everything is based around that library. Staff and teachers get advice, students learn, and librarian teaches all day long. All right there in the middle of our school. With our full-time trained librarian, we are losing so much more than just access to our books. Our librarian is vital to our school. Many kids are already behind because of COVID. I implore you, do not make it worse. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Douglas. Our final 3 speakers on the sign-up list are Toby Ford, Phil Cronebush, and Margot Logan. Toby, Mr. Ford, are you here?
Hello, members of the Evergreen Board. My name is Toby Ford. I'm a certified teacher with Evergreen School District for the, more than 18 years. I love our students and families, as I know you do. I have a few concerns. However, the majority of the questions asked on the recent Youth Truth Survey provide kids and families a forum for input, but there's a portion that is harmful for children and violates parental rights. The questions on the survey or any question regarding genders other than biologically assigned at birth produces unnecessary confusion and mental distress for children. From a mental development and medical standpoint, children are unqualified to make decisions leading to potentially life-altering choices, such as puberty blockers, sterilizing, and permanently scarring surgeries. The damage this causes has been well documented in the medical community, and importantly, teachers are not licensed mental health or medical professionals and should not be administrating surveys including these questions to children. FERPA rights need to be better protected. Parents need to be better informed about the details of the questions and well ahead of time. They should know they have the right to opt their children out of the survey. That needs to be clear. Teachers need to make sure that their students know that students have FERPA rights not to answer questions they feel uncomfortable with. In Evergreen School District, there's been a 13% decrease in enrollment in the last few years. Have we surveyed or asked input from our families in the district who are exiting our schools for private schools, homeschools, and charter schools as to why they're leaving? Our funding depends on it. Some questions aren't being asked, I suspect, that would require us to have uncomfortable conversations about ways the district might be aligned with the not be aligned with the values of families and their rights. Choosing not to address these issues will mean funding will continue to decrease and hurt everyone's abilities to serve students in the district. Can we please change the Youth Truth Survey, and is there a strategy for asking parents and families why they're leaving district schools? Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Phil Cronebush. Hey, Phil.
Good evening. Phil Cronebush, Orchard Sifton area. We have a current budget shortfall, so I have a question regarding OSPI's inclusionary practice model. Our current 2024 legislative priority states additional funding is necessary to support districts adopting OSPI's inclusionary practice model. It seems to indicate that this inclusionary model is costing us significant money. Based on previous comments at the board meetings from teachers and parents, there are problems arising because of this policy's implementation. March 12th, the Columbia News Agency reported on problems with this program. If this policy is troublesome to students and distracts from the budget, why do we continue to use it? I understand that this comes from Chris Reichdahl, the state superintendent, and his team. However, it's clear from public testimony that the model is clearly faulted. The reports of violence in the class, student interruptions, and teachers reporting abuse is troubling. Superintendent Reichdahl needs to rework this policy, in my view, and here at Evergreen, with the current budget crisis, we can no longer support a program that has not been properly vetted. I have not seen any data showing that Mr. Reichdahl's policy actually works. We're losing money and valuable class time. With the $20 million shortfall and the current projection to lose librarians and other staff, how can our budget decision include a program that negatively impacts students? It is an expense to the budget while cutting security, library services, and music arts programs in the budget. I'd like to know how the board feels about going on with this program. If we discontinue the model, we save money and we get back our valuable staff. I think we all believe that inclusion at Evergreen is fundamentally the right thing to do. However, it's the way you carry it out without any negative impacts to students and teachers. We need to be pragmatic with the budget. Would any of you like to comment on the possibility that this program should be terminated and instead the savings forwarded to save one of our staff and the support they bring to our students? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cronebush. Margot Logan. Good evening.
Good evening. I'm Margot Logan, and I would say you have heard from the community, and I would encourage you to listen to the community and what they've said in saving the librarians and security and the interventionists. I worked for DSHS for 16 years here in the county. And DSHS is a huge organization. And every time there was problems, they would make new agencies. And with the new agencies, they made more administrators. And one year we got a break where we were kind of taken out of DSHS. And so it was me, the regional manager in Olympia, and the director. That was our chain of command. And we had a couple really good years of doing good work in our unit, which was the daycare licensing. So you don't need all those administrators. You can cut the administration. I mean, it's just so true. It's going to give new life to the people who are working in the schools. You've got a lot of involved parents now. You have an opportunity here. And yes, it's right. I mean, now, where I used to do daycare licensing, they are so top heavy with administrators. I totally understand what these folks are testifying to and commenting on. So definitely cut the administration and keep the librarians, the security, and the interventionists. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. This concludes the public comment portion of our meeting. I know some people didn't get to finish their comments, but I want to offer that emailing the board with the remainder of your comments or with a written copy of what you have to say. We read every email sent to board directors at evergreenps.org. So that would be one avenue if you didn't get a chance to finish or express yourself as completely as you wanted to with the time limit. I appreciate the comments that were given today. The next item on our agenda is the board consent agenda. Are there any items to pull for discussion?
Yes, I'd like to pull Resolution 6904.
Resolution 6904 will be held for discussion. I'll take a motion to approve the rest of the board consent agenda, excluding item E.
I move that we approve the board's consent agenda with excluding item E.
All right, thank you.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Should we move to discuss that now, or would you like to do that at the end?
Probably now.
Okay. Then I'll open a discussion about item E from the consent agenda. Gary, what's on your mind?
Well, I just wanted it to be noted that we're approving $9.6 million for two music rooms additions to Union and Evergreen High School. And just, I know it's coming from a different fund, but just in light of, we're talking tonight too on our budget proposal about of many things, but one of them cutting fifth grade band. It just doesn't seem to flow real well, so just wanted to bring it up and offer that for discussion.
Okay. I'm happy to take a motion to approve this item.
It's single item.
Yeah, just the single item, and then we'll continue discussion.
I move to approve.
Okay.
What was it? Sorry, I pulled down
It's-
the agenda.
6904.
6904.
Resolution 6904, Evergreen High School and Union High School music rooms.
Second.
Is there any other discussion?
So the music rooms were part of the bond project, part of the Envision Evergreen funding part, and I think it was because we had redone those at, well, Mountain View obviously got the new room with the high school, and Heritage because of the addition that was done. So the other two high schools, to make it equitable to the other two programs, I believe that that's the reasoning behind why those rooms were being redone.
It was, yeah, it was part of our original bond plan that we had put out to the community, so we're just finishing those projects. So that's already been approved by the community.
And as you pointed out, Director Wilson, that's a completely different funding source. Building money coming from bonds cannot be used for basic education, which if we could, we could consider that, but it's not actually legal to do that.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other discussion?
But thank you for bringing that up, because that is a common misconception, especially when we're discussing budget cuts, and people see that.
Understand. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Wilson. Hearing no other discussion, we'll take a vote. All in favor of approving this item?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? And the motion passes. The next item on our agenda is the superintendent consent agenda. Action requires a motion.
I move that we approve the superintendent's consent agenda as presented.
Seconded.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the superintendent consent agenda as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion to approve the superintendent's consent agenda is passed. The next item is matters reserved for board action. A discussion of the draft resolution number 6905, the reduced educational program.
Yeah, and Director Perkins, I just want to point out that we've been very clear beginning in October and November when we put out our timeline that on the March 26th board meeting, we will present to the board after making any adjustments that we've discussed, a reduced educational program resolution for the board to consider and approve that would put the budget cuts in motion. So we just wanted to be clear, put that on the list today, as that's what our community wants to know, that the timeline and how that works.
Now would be a time to discuss the resolution as it's been presented to us.
Well,
But no action is required.
well, I can start with praise where praise is due. Originally, the administration team was talking about a 7 to 8% in reduction in the district office, and it came back 15%. I know I kind of asked if it could be a 3-to-1 ratio between the non-district office and district office, and apparently that was somewhat hopefully considered and came back that way. So I want to thank the administrative team for that. Recently, there was the sit down with the super, and John had mentioned, if not, then what? And it was mentioned there that to come tonight and show the community's heart, and I appreciate everyone coming tonight and sharing. And I know looking at the budget survey, then looking at the emails we've gotten since the resolution came out, and also hearing from you tonight, I see actually 4 now major concerns with the budget as presented. Librarians, security, academic interventionist, and 5th grade band. And yeah, I did present at our last budget workshop, or actually it was our only budget workshop. I should let you guys know, we don't get together and really talk about the budget. That was the first time as a team, as all 5 of us together. So this is really our second time talking about this publicly. We can't meet privately. We have to meet with everyone here, or it has to be an open public meeting. So yeah, I had presented at the budget workshop something, I thought an easy proposal to look at, rather than half the librarians, maybe half of our instructional coaches. And I guess that may still be on the table, I'm not sure, but if that is important to you, please contact us through email and just let us know your thoughts, and because it's not a final yet, we have another 2 weeks. And personally, I probably wouldn't mind looking at some other items to cut. I know I mentioned supplies that parents used to give, but now we're supplying it, and it's about $100,000. It's not going to pay a whole lot, but it's something. I mean, if parents can afford it, have them, give that. That would be, I would think, an easy one to get a little bit of funds there. But I believe we have to learn the art of compromise here, and I believe we have to take into account our stakeholders, what you guys are feeding back to us. And like I said, I do appreciate the district office taking the cuts they have, but there are a few other areas that we could look at. And to be honest, this budget reduction worksheet that you see, that's basically all we saw. We just get basically told where this is the reductions, and we got to try to work within those parameters. However, I would have liked to, and I don't know if you guys as well, during the process that the administrative team was coming up with this, to be more involved so we could look at where, before we get this, where we think cuts should be and where some other savings, maybe not I would like to look at like line item by line item, you know, I mean, usually when you get a business does a budget, or when you're proposing a new budget, you have the previous budget, the actuals, and then the proposed new budget by line item, and it just seems either we're too big to do that, but bigger businesses than us do that. So it would just be a more hands-on, I don't know if you guys would appreciate that as well, being able to be more of the process before it comes to this, that we can look at, rather than just, these are the reduction areas, look at other areas to, I know I threw some out last budget workshop just based on the budget survey. And, you know, anyway, I would appreciate any feedback from you guys. This is really one of our only few times to talk. And, you know, if we don't go for the instructional going after half the instructional, half librarians, it would free up our media specialist portion for $671,000, and we could use that to save all the security. Because honestly, I cannot vote in favor of a budget that cuts any of our security. We're 450 students per security person right now, 400, that cutting 28 of our, 10 of our 28 security people would be down to 18, and between our 6 middle schools and our 4 high schools, and that would be a ratio of 650 students to 1 security person. And, you know, tonight we've got a couple of security people here. I've seen 2 security people here. Many meetings when there's only been about 30 people out there, so it's like 1 to 15 people. So I just don't understand why we're not, you know, caring about security at our schools. I mean, that would be really an easy, you know, $650,000 or $580,000 is not a big line item there. And by doing the proposal I threw out there, we would be able to get those security people on, keep them, and would even have about 100,000 left over to possibly, I was looking at an after-school band type 5th grade band thing, but I mean, academic interventionist, you know, you guys did a good job presenting tonight and made a good case, and I'm up for cutting the instructional coaches even more to keep more of the academic interventionists. So, I mean, you know, I'm just one, so I just don't know if anyone else has any comments as well to.
That was a lot.
Yeah.
And I certainly appreciate you thinking about this as broadly as you have, Gary, because we need to do that. Are there any other comments or discussion?
I think every one of us agrees that safety is very important in all of our schools, and making cuts to safety and security is not an easy decision for any of us. I don't know that there's any easy decisions. Every person on that list is important. It's a person's job, and they fill a vital role in this district. So it's really hard to say, you know, kind of that if not this, then what? Because every position fills a vital role for our kids. I think we're all trying to work towards one mission, is to help our kids. If there's, you know, I think we heard a lot of good information tonight, and I think it's, you know, time for us to think thoughtfully over the next couple of weeks before the resolution is passed before us at the next meeting, but it kind of gives us some time to reflect and take another look.
I know for every student we lose because parents are upset, that's over $10,000 in state funding, and you add in federal, I mean, you lose 100 students, you're looking at about close to 1.5 million loss in funding, so it could add up quickly, and we're making cuts, but that could have negative effects definitely on enrollment, and so the cuts we're making aren't really going to be that effective. So.
I think I want to just point out that this is like step N in a process that began last November that we know have included community members, both individually and in groups and through our correspondence with email. And that at each, what I've seen is that at each, almost each week of all the discussions with staff, with building leaders, with the ASC leaders, and with the community, they made adjustments. We don't put ourselves into all the details until pretty much a month ago or a month and a half ago. But it's easy to recognize that that work was being done all this time. And that this isn't the last step, and the next meeting won't be the last step, because after that resolution would come the mitigation process, right, John? In which we figure out how to model, or which our staff figure out how to model, using their expertise, an educational program that doesn't take away all of the things that the kind of the sum of fears that have been expressed tonight imply might be taken away. And so I think it'd be important for us to get sort of an early look at what that could look like, knowing that it's a complex interplay, but it'd be a good thing to learn at the same time as we're approving the reductions.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Well, just here's the thinking that I'd want to learn what the thinking is about mitigation in 2 weeks, knowing as well that that will change as we learn more. We had hoped as well, does that make sense? Yeah. We'd hoped as well that the legislature would step up more than it has, and you know, I share a feeling of disappointment in the funding enhancements that are coming forward with the materials, with the MSOC materials funding not even covering inflation. That's a blow. With $250,000 added for special education when we needed $10 million added for special education in order not to impact programs and experiences for students that come only from the levy. It has been on a trajectory like this for years, and it's only gotten worse. And that means that we also need, in addition to the feedback and the emotion and the dedication that our community feels for their teachers and the way that the school is structured, we also need them to help us advocate at the state level. And so I actually ran into the executive director of the state PTA today in a Zoom meeting, and he was kind enough to sidebar with me to say that there are some resources available through state PTA that could help us organize our PTA leaders and PTO leaders in an effective way when advocating at the legislature. Perhaps they could even be involved in helping us with our legislative platform as we get into that stage of the cycle for the next long session. So a lot of sadness, but also some hope that we can take the energy that we're being shown and turn it into some better things for our kids.
Well, I know it was mentioned about the inclusionary practice model and how we state on our legislative priorities that it's expensive. I guess it says additional funding is necessary to support the districts adopting OSPI's inclusionary practice model, otherwise sometimes known as neighborhood school model. I know there's been a lot of parents and teachers the last year have come here, upset about just it hasn't been well implemented, and it's costly, and it's not mandated, so we don't have to. We could go back to to some extent the previous model, or even let parents decide if they want their kid to be going to the neighborhood school or if they would rather have it more centrally located where we could pool our resources better, excuse me. So that could be savings there. I know I asked that. There wasn't any study done necessarily, but we're stating it here that it's more expensive. So we must know, we have to know. I don't think we're going to lie on this form.
Well, I think the context of that is really that there are $10 million short for special education. Inclusionary model or not, that's the root problem, is that we have to spend more than we're funded to meet the mandates. I think we ought to take it to heart. Any other comments or discussion?
I do want to say that I do hear everyone's concerns who came tonight. To me, security is paramount for our students. And I want to say expect changes along those lines in the budget in terms of those things that I consider important, which would be security specifically. I know that it doesn't matter what we cut, people are going to be very unhappy. And that's not something that we can change. I hope you all know that everybody here on this board cares about kids. We care about their experiences. I have kids in this district. They go to these schools. I want them to be safe. I want them to have experiences. I see people here who have worked so hard for them, and we appreciate you, but this is a very difficult choice to make. And your input is important, and I know you will continue to give us this input through, we have 2 weeks, and so from here we go into 2x2s where we talk about it again. Okay. Yes.
Anyone else?
Yeah, I guess for me, I just also want to remind the community that this is the third year of 20 million. Like, there's not a lot of fat left. Unfortunately, we took as much as we could in the very first year, the second year. This hurts us. It's not just you guys. This hurts our hearts because, like Jackie said, we have kids in this district, special education kids, dyslexic kids. So we get you, we hear you. It's not that we don't hear you and we're not listening, because we do. We get all of your emails. We hear what you're saying to us. We're getting your voicemails. You may not always hear back from us because there's a lot more of you than there is us. But we're hearing you. I promise you, we are hearing you, and we are taking all of this to heart. We are not the enemy. I know people want to blame someone. We always, and maybe it doesn't sound right when we're trying to blame or steer the blame to the state. But if you look back from the time McCleary was approved, we've had at least 4 of the last 6 years we've had budget cuts. That means they didn't fix it. They made it worse. And that is where we really are. And it's time. The Band-Aid they put on was only supposed to be good for 2 years. It's been now 6 years. And we can't function like this anymore. So please bear with us. This is my plea to all of you, to know that we're parents, we're community members, we're taxpayers, and we love this district. And I think even just the other day I said, I hope projections are what they are going forward, because I'd like to get us back to the place where Evergreen was known for the ingenuity and the creativity to how we brought programs to our students. I would rather stop playing catch up and trying to catch our breath and actually take the time of why we all got on this school board and why we ran these elections to get here. It's been tough, and I'm hoping that going forward, we can all rally and come together and get over this and all hug at the end of it. So thank you for all of your comments tonight. I know we've all been making notes, and this really wasn't supposed to be board comment section, so it turned into it. Thank you.
Sorry, I should have stopped us. Okay, hearing no other comments or discussion, the next item on our agenda is a department update. John?
Yeah, we have a department update from our nutrition services, and we have Jennifer Jacobson here to introduce our phenomenal team supporting our student nutrition program.
Good evening. It's my pleasure to introduce Caitlin Scoba, our Children Nutrition Services Coordinator. She is absolutely fabulous. She has an update for you, but I also want to mention we just finished an OSPI procurement review on child nutrition services. They do an extensive review, and we not only didn't have any findings, we didn't even have any corrective actions. She's just doing a fabulous job. So, yeah, it's my pleasure to introduce her to you.
Thank you. All right.
Evening.
That's not my presentation. I'll keep him though, he's cool. All right. Let's see here. All right. Awesome. Well, my name is Caitlin Scoba. Hi, Board and Superintendent John. We have, to shift gears just a little bit, hopefully a bright spot for you guys tonight. We wanted to give you a brief update on child nutrition services and our food service programming throughout the year. I'm going to cover the boring stuff. I've got Kirk Mistain here. He is our resident district manager with Chartwells. He's going to cover the fun stuff. All right, so I'm just going to cover who we are. We're going to go over the community eligibility provision update. I also have a legislative update around universal free meals and what our future looks like for that, as well as our participation, and then some program updates and what's to come for the remainder of the school year. As I said, my name is Caitlin Scoba, and I oversee the nutrition department here. I also have Michelle Breyer, Kimberly Topper, and Erica White. If you've called the nutrition services department, you probably have been able to interact with one of these few ladies. They're fantastic. And I'm going to let Kirk introduce his team.
Hi, as Caitlin said, I'm the resident district manager. Tonight with us is Russ Colwick, who's our director of dining services. Chris Ariola is our chef. She's actually preparing some things for later. And Laura and Patty are our assistant dining services directors. We've got a great team. They're out in the field daily. They're in the schools all the time. And one of the best things about what we get to do is we actually get to be with the students every day. So I'm in 3 to 4 schools every day, and so are all of our directors.
All right, so just a brief update on community eligibility provision. What CEP is a federal program that you are approved district-wide or individual schools. Here in Evergreen, we're approved to operate CEP district-wide for up to 4 years. So our current term ends with the end of the 25-26 school year. As of right now, we're our ISP, and I will preface all of this information is all on our website. It's a lot, and I know it can be confusing. Our current estimated district identified student percentage is currently 39.3%. 40% is the threshold for full federal and state funding and reimbursement. We are very close, and it's not as concerning for us who operate this program day in and day out. This is a good place to be. Every April 1st, this data is pulled for eligibility for the following school year. One of the positive things with CEP is that you can reapply to restart your 4-year term at any time. So we monitor our ISP for the last couple years to be strategic about when we want to reapply to then extend free meals for our students that is fully federally covered through the USDA district-wide. So we definitely take that to heart. The benefits of renewing the CEP operation early, like I said before, it extends our operation into 2028 at the earliest, potentially beyond. This provision also fills a gap for some of our families that fall in the income bubble where they may not have state support, but they don't have to worry about school meals for their students. And like I said, this program is fully funded through the USDA, and OSPI is our reporting agency, and they support us as well. So this does not come out of our Evergreen school budget. Last thing I want to cover is the most recent Washington State Legislature for school meal programs is House Bill 1238, was signed into legislation in July of 2023. This supports Washington State school districts to provide meals at no cost to students enrolled at elementary schools. So if we did not have the ability to operate CEP, universal free meals is still an option at all of our elementary schools with a 30% or higher enrollment of children who meet the requirements for free and reduced lunch. So the future of universal free meals is positive, and I think a lot of that is stemmed from what we learned through the pandemic. This will start beginning with the next school year. However, this legislation does not interfere with our current approval of CEP. However, EPS will be required to operate universal free meals at individual elementary schools if we do not qualify for CEP in the future. So, like I said, free meals for our students is an extremely important part of our school day. To switch to some of the things that we've done here in Evergreen School District, our major influences on the overall success of our program is mainly our collaboration and partnership, not only between myself and Kirk and his team, but other departments across the district that are vital to our operation. Central receiving and our warehouse staff, our facilities and maintenance team put up with us a lot, so we really want to thank them. Our admin and our kitchen staff across the district, a lot of those kitchen staff, I will say, they know every student by heart, they're by name. They come through the line and they are a bright spot for those students, and we've seen it firsthand. The program support in the field, like Kirk had mentioned, we're out in our units a lot. And I think that that has really built some positive relationships, not only with students, but with kitchen staff. If you're proud of the work that you do, your work's gonna turn out better. And that's what we've seen across the collaborative. Program operations and consistency, like Jennifer had mentioned, we have been through a handful of child nutrition service program audits in the last 18 months. And we are finally to a point where we feel extremely confident with the operation that we provide here in Evergreen School District, as well as the staff that we have on board. It's been a wonderful partnership. And with that, I'm going to let Kirk cover some of the fun stuff.
Okay. So one of the programs that we've enacted this year, we introduced it earlier this year, is our Global Eats program. And what this does is allows us to introduce international cuisines into the school. The model that we found works really well, and this is at Covington about 2 weeks ago, I guess, that we introduced China. We do tastings, so we'll do pop-ups and we'll give out samples to all the students coming through so they can try it. When they're coming for lunch, they're in a hurry. They might be hesitant to really take a shot on that for lunch that day. But when they have the sample, what we're finding is we get great participation when we bring the entree back on the school menu a week later or 2 weeks later. We've been getting a lot of positive feedback. In fact, the team was out at Union High School yesterday. We were at one of the other high schools, Heritage, last week too. So we're bouncing all over the district doing this. Right now, we're doing China, India, Mexico and Italy. We're right in the middle of Italy right now this month. Next month will be Mexico, and we'll finish up with India. And we're trying to introduce different flavors and really get them excited about all these kind of things. We make them accessible so they can give them a try. And then coming soon, we're with our culinary team, we're working with them on Korea and the Caribbean. And this is a program that's gotten national awards for Chartwells. It's in all of our districts, but it's a lot of fun for us to put out. Myself as a culinarian, I'm excited about it because I get to get behind it and talk to the kids and hand out samples and really explain to them what we're doing and make it a food-focused event and not just boring, hamburger lunch, which they love, and they love the pizza, but we really are having a lot of fun with this. The other thing that we really enjoyed this year was our Discovery Kitchen Cook-Off. So we've had 2 of these this year. We did one in the fall, and we just did one a couple of weeks ago. And how this works is the 5th graders, we kind of divided the district up north and south, and the 5th graders submit their recipes, and we call that down to the top 8 winners. And those 8 individuals will go and have a cook-off against each other And they get mentors from kitchen staff who act as their sous chefs. And, we've just seen great enthusiasm and pride from these students as they put these dishes together. And I'm always impressed how much they actually know when they go into the kitchen. And they, they really take charge of it, and they just do such a great job, and their families are there rooting them on. And then at the end, there's a judge, and you can see all the judge, many of you have helped us out with judging this year. And, I want to say thank you to everybody who's helped out with that. Our winners were Ariana Rothermel from York and Alejandro Palacios from Marion, and they just did such a great job. And it was a lot of fun, and we look forward to doing more of those and figuring out how we can expand that program. As somebody who went through a culinary program and a home ec program in high school, it was very fortunate for me and, kept me in the food service industry, and I've done this my whole life. So it's just great to see these kids, and they really enjoyed it. So much fun. Going on with that is our Discovery Kitchen. This is a series of events that we do throughout the year. And so we go through and we theme promotions along with each calendar month. And this is an ongoing thing that we introduce in all the schools. And we're getting a lot of positive feedback from that also. And then last, really, I want to talk about our staff. We have over 170 employees, associates that work with us. These are the folks that show up at 6 in the morning and open the doors and give breakfast out for our kids. And, Caitlin touched upon it. You'll go in there and they'll know every single child in an elementary school, middle school, and know them by name, what they like, what they don't like. It's really fun to watch. But they're the cornerstone of our success. They're the heart and soul of what we do. They all bring unique skills, experiences. Many of them are parents of students in this district or have gone to school in this district. They have a deep connection. Out of our 170 associates, over half of them have been with us over 10 years. And of the other half, I would say probably 40% of those have been here over 3 years. Right as we came out of COVID. So they enjoy their jobs. We try to make sure we can come up with schedules that fit for them and really encourage them to just have a great time and serve great food. We're empowering them to really get out there and take care of our customers, and that's how I really tend to voice it to all of our staff is these are our customers. They're not just students. We need to earn their business and make sure that we're providing great, nutritious food that fuels growth, prosperity, and they're the driving force behind who we are, and they're our greatest asset. So thank you very much. We really appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you, Kirk, and thank you for honoring the staff that just do such a great job.
If anybody has questions, feel free to reach out to the Child Nutrition Department. We've got lots of information for you if you're looking for it.
Great.
Thank you. Are there any questions for them at this time?
I do want to say we had breakfast with the board with the students at Mountain View last week, and they said they would like longer lunch.
Sure.
I was wondering if there is there like a requirement for lunch to be a certain amount of time?
Yes, we have, it's not a requirement, it's a highly suggested from the USDA that students have a minimum of 20 minutes sit time to eat their lunch. So we do encourage, as long as you'd give them, the more they probably would be able to eat. But 20 minutes of sit time, that's not including standing in line, that's not including waiting for your meal. We encourage that when scheduling.
About how long does it take to get through the line, like in high school?
10?
No, it depends. In the elementaries, they're coming through about every 5 to 8 minutes to get a class through. And for the high schools, it's a little bit different because the secondary schools, because they come in bigger groups. But I would say 10 minutes at the outside. We really try to make sure we get our signage and our information up so they can make choices. We also write a menu cycle that has some static items, not always, but there are specific things that they know they can get on certain days. A lot of them tend to be creatures of habit. And sometimes too many choices are paralyzing. So we want to make sure that we have options that they enjoy. But, you know, I think we get them through pretty expediently.
My wife worked for Chartwell's for 3 years, and she at Cascade Middle, and she just thought the quality of food was really good and selection. She said, I wish they had stuff like this when I was in school. So, and I did enjoy the cook-off the other couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Great seeing
for
the
helping, by the way.
fifth graders get excited. You know.
We'll put you on tap for next year.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I appreciated the opportunity to come and judge the kids. It was wonderful to meet them.
Yeah.
And the recipes that they all prepared were so unique and tasty. I just can't go without mentioning that. Sullivan Covenant, do you have any questions for child nutrition?
I don't have any questions, but I do want to agree with Rob. I think that the cook-offs are so much fun, and I love seeing how engaged the fifth graders are, how excited they are, and just talking to them about even where they got their recipes. I remember one young lady, her grandmother flew in from Germany, and they got to cook together, and she got to learn the recipe from her grandmother, and I thought that was so sweet, and it helps kids develop and learn about their culture and other cultures, and food and nutrition, which can help with body image and so many other things. It just all wraps into one big delicious healthy burrito. So thank you.
Wow.
I just want to say that this is so sweet, and I'm really loving everything you guys are doing. And
thank you.
Thank you.
And I'll just mention those concerned about the budget here tonight. I did ask, and our federal programs fully fund Chartwell's, so there weren't any savings there. So.
Great.
I think the district has long had a slightly net positive operations funding from nutrition services, and that as well is thanks to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
The next item on the agenda is the Student Board Representative Report. Who's first?
Hello. So during our recent SAC meeting, we extended an invitation to SAFE, where we discussed both the positive developments and some challenges within our schools. We also dived into the projected budget and its implications on our operations, sharing our thoughts and concerns about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that all? Does the Student Advisory Committee have some feedback and recommendations for us about the budget?
The general consensus was pretty much that we all feel very strongly about having security in our schools. We all feel very strongly about having a great ratio of security guards to students and counselors to students. And we all feel strongly about music and the interventalists. I can't say that word, excuse me. We all have our feelings, but we all also know that it is very difficult to find $20 million when we've already cut $40 million in the last 2 years. So we have our feelings, but we understand the implications. And we would love to see it a different way, but we also understand that things can't always go our way. Thank you for asking.
Thank you, Sullivan. The next item on the agenda is comments by the school board. Who has comments? I mean, we've talked a lot already about the resolution to reduce the academic program and some other things, but what else is there?
Oh, I was just going to thank Toby Ford for talking tonight. I know Joshua Warbus shared similar concerns at our last board meeting, and I'm still in the process of looking into that as far as the Youth Truth Survey and some of those questionable questions. I know Joshua mentioned it was for his first and third grader, and yeah, I do question some of those, why we're asking especially elementary school kids some of those questions, and it could be leading them down roads they really don't need to question. I mean, if people question things when they get older, I understand, get them the information, but I'd err on the side of caution as far as leading younger kids to question things that If they don't have that question in their mind, why put it there? So, but thank you.
Julie?
Two quick things for me. Next week is our WASDA Region 6 meeting, if you can all attend. And then this Saturday night, I know that Ginny and I are going to represent, and several of the administrators in the room and others will be at the Evergreen School Foundation, biggest fundraiser of the year. So hopefully we can gather some support and raise some money.
That is definitely one of the places that it's on. It's just not close enough. That's definitely one of the places that gives us the most, gives us a lot of outside support. So that's also another way of helping in certain situations. So we're going to raise lots of money this weekend.
I appreciate that effort. I was trying to think about what we've done. There's been a lot in the last couple of weeks. But the fonts are too small for me to see what we've done, or what I've been a part of. And I continue working with the Online Learning Advisory Committee at OSPI. I continue singing the praises of Legacy High School whenever I get the chance, and Legacy Online for the way that they've structured those programs. And I really appreciate that part of the district. I hope we can maintain that too, because that impacts and supports some of the highest needs at the high school level. That's all from me. Any other comments? Hearing none, it is now 8:09 p.m. We are going to call for a 15-minute recess of this meeting in order to sign papers approving our agenda items. And we will follow that up after 15 minutes with a 45-minute executive session to discuss the sale of real estate, after which we will call for an adjournment of the meeting. Thank you, everyone, for coming and for giving us your feedback. I appreciate it.